Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. David Glassner, Superintendent of Shaker Heights City School District. Nice to see you again this afternoon. I'm here to provide an update on our plans for the 2020-2021 school year. As always, I just want to start with a few reminders and a few housekeeping items. I provide these updates every week, twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 3 p.m. You are welcome to submit questions in advance, which we try to answer in the course of the update. You can submit those questions via our website on www.shaker.org. You are also welcome to insert questions or type questions into the Zoom chat panel or onto the Facebook live chat panel. While we can't answer those questions in person, we do monitor those platforms, and we'll try to answer those questions at a later date. I'm going to share my screen so that you can see what we'll be talking about today. So we're going to go through a number of different topics today. I'm going to just give a brief review of where things stand, what plans we've developed so far, kind of what we're exploring in most depth. I'll also talk a little more specifically about pre-kindergarten programming, since I know I have not been able to address that in depth yet. And then I'm going to be talking a little bit more about our communications timeline. And then I will go through a set of topics just to provide some updates on those topics. And here are some of the topics that I'll be covering later in the presentation today. Time permitting, I may run out of time on some of these, but I'm hoping to do my best to address as many of these as possible. So with that, I'm going to jump right in and just start by kind of reviewing what some of the guiding principles, both at the district level and at the state level, have been as we make plans for the 2021 school year. First of all, in making our plans, and I've alluded to this or mentioned this before, our highest priority is student and staff health and safety, particularly in the situation that we find ourselves in right now, where COVID-19 cases are continuing to increase in Cuyahoga County and across the country. We know that it is really important, and really it is imperative upon us to make sure that we are putting in place health and safety protocols to limit student and staff exposure to COVID-19 and to limit the risk of the spread of COVID-19 in our school buildings. So that is the first priority that we've taken into account as we make plans for the upcoming school year. We also want to make sure that our plans align with our district strategic plan, our newly adopted district strategic plan, which rests on really two pillars: educational equity and the International Baccalaureate Framework. So as we develop plans for what classes look like and what courses we'll be offering, we really want to make sure that we're aligning our work and our plans to both of these two pillars. Last week, the governor also announced some guidance from the state related to the 2020-2021 school year. That guidance was framed on three basic principles. First of all, the governor said that we have an obligation to educate our children and keep them safe. He also announced that local control of our schools is crucial, but the state has an obligation to ensure good education for all children. And lastly, there's a strong consensus that kids need to get back into our school buildings. And we certainly agree with that last point. We know that it's important for students to have in-person learning and education while being able to maintain health and safety guidelines and protocols. I do just want to add before I move on that the state guidance is now publicly available. The state published a restart and reset planning document to help districts with planning for the 2021 school year. We have been looking at that document. We also anticipate that some additional guidance will be coming out over the next few days. For example, from the Cuyahoga County Board of Health, we expect that they will have more detailed guidance. We also expect the Ohio Department of Education to provide some additional guidance. And we expect that we may hear other organizations or agencies provide some specific guidance for our planning for the fall, for example, related to transportation. So while the state has provided some guidance, which has been very helpful, we expect more details to be forthcoming over the next couple of days and weeks. With that, I just want to kind of quickly review the plans that we've been spending most of our time fleshing out. You'll see here that there are three draft instructional models listed here, or preliminary instructional models: a hybrid model, which would be a combination of in-person and virtual instruction that meets social distancing or physical distancing and safety guidelines; a full virtual model, which would take place when schools or if schools are required to close for in-person instruction; and lastly, a Shaker Virtual Academy, which is a full-time virtual or online instruction model that would be an option for students who, for whatever reason, are unable to return to schools in person at all. I want to make a couple of things clear about these models. First of all, I know I say this every time I present these, but we have and continue to explore 5-day-a-week models for students, particularly at the younger grade levels. There are some significant challenges to that, but I know it's not listed here, and that's a question that we keep getting. So we are continuing to explore that and have not dismissed any model at this point. Really, this list is intended to show you where we're spending most of our time at this point. Also, we are planning to build this model, or these models exist with flexibility in mind. We know that it is very likely that we are going to need to switch back and forth from, let's say, a hybrid model to a full virtual model if a class or a school or the district is required to go back into an extended closure model. And so we want to build that agility into these models. Also, we are spending time planning both the in-person learning experiences as well as the virtual learning experiences. One of the pieces of feedback we got from the spring was that our virtual learning experiences need to be more robust, more rigorous, and include more synchronous learning opportunities. And so we're spending time planning for those as well while we plan for the 2021 school year. And of course, the caveat I give with all of these plans is that nothing is set in stone, and our circumstances and the landscape continues to change, and we will continue to evolve. Our plans will continue to evolve as the circumstances around us continue to evolve. So I just want to make that clear as I share these plans. More specifically, and again, I know I shared this last week, but I just want to review for people who may not have seen or not heard yet. We've been exploring in most depth, or exploring most fully, an A-B hybrid model for grades K through 8. That means that students would be in person or in school for 1 week, and then would be out of school or engage in virtual or remote learning for the second week. And they would alternate. So we would have A-week students and B-week students. A-week students would be in person for an A-week, and B-week students would be in person during the B-week. And on weeks when they're not in person, students would be engaging in virtual learning. At the high school, which is a little more complex and a little different than our K through 8 schools, right now we are looking at what we call a 3/4 hybrid, where students will be broken into 3 different assigned groups, and each group will have in-person learning 3 days a week for about half of a day each time, for about 4 hours each day. And like our K through 8 schools, students will have virtual instruction when not attending in person. I mentioned on last week that how we offer school will also have an impact on what we offer, and that we're looking at different course offerings. Generally speaking, in the secondary model from grades 5 through 8, that means that we are going to have courses. All of our regular subject classes will still be offered, but we will not be offering levels. Particularly grades K through 7. Math in 8th grade is a little different. At the high school, we'll also be consolidating some levels as well. And I'll talk a little more about that when I get to some of the questions that we've gotten over the past few days. I want to spend a little more time on pre-kindergarten, since I have not yet fully addressed that. In our pre-kindergarten program, we are also expecting to implement an A-B hybrid model, or that's really what we're looking at right now. That's where we're spending most of our time planning. There will be some exceptions to this model for students with disabilities based on a student's IEP needs. Right now, there are very specific guidelines that we're required to follow, or specific guidance that the state has put out that early childhood or pre-kindergarten programs are required to follow. For example, we are only allowed to have up to 9 students as a maximum in each class. In our model that we're thinking of right now, we would have 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds alternate weeks. So for example, the 3-year-old class would be in an A week, and the 4-year-old class would come in person during a B week. We are considering, given that we know that this is probably a little different model than families expected when they signed up, our families who pay tuition for this program, we will be notifying families if there are tuition changes, and that's something that we are currently considering for the 2021 school year. I also want to make it clear that we do anticipate right now continuing to offer both our half-day and full-day options or sections for pre-kindergarten next school year. I want to just talk a little bit about our anticipated timeline. Now, obviously, things can change and may change, but we are hoping and anticipating that we will be able to make a more formal plan announcement for the 2021 school year this Thursday at the summer update at 3 o'clock. After that summer update, we will post some dedicated web pages, parts of our website that will provide additional information. We will also have email and social media announcements with links to our website, and we will also communicate with our families in other ways, not just online, most likely in person or via paper or mailings and other ways to make sure that everybody's clear about the plans for the 2021 school year. I know we put in a lot of work to get to this point, up until this point, just to announce our plans. But I will say that just announcing the plans is really getting us to the starting line, because once our plans are solidified, there's still a great deal of work that has to take place at the school level to ensure that teacher assignments are finalized, student class placements are finalized, special education, the way we will provide special education services for students is finalized. So there's still a great deal of work that has to take place once we set on or solidify our plans for the school year. So I want to make clear that there's still, we will not be able to provide every single detail this upcoming Thursday, but we do hope to provide enough details that families can plan for what school will look like in the fall. Before I move on, I also want to just announce a couple of other things. We do hope to have some information about the Shaker Virtual Academy that we will be releasing, hopefully on Thursday. Will be an opportunity for families to begin the enrollment process for families who are interested in the Shaker Virtual Academy, along with some additional information so families can make informed decisions. I was also just informed, breaking news, that Governor DeWine has mandated masks for people in Cuyahoga County, indoors and outdoors, when we cannot physical distance. I'm sure we will learn more about that announcement over the next few hours, but this is a good example of how some of the circumstances that we're dealing with are evolving on an hourly basis or on a daily basis, and that may have an impact on the kinds of plans we're putting in place for our schools. All right, with that, I want to just start diving into some specific topics. These topics were generated by feedback and questions that we've received since our last update. I'm going to start just by talking about student-specific questions, since I know I've gotten a number of emails related to specific students, what kind of program, educational program they may have in the fall, what kind of supports they may receive, those kinds of questions. Those are all excellent questions. For student-specific questions, I really encourage you to reach out to your building level administrator or your school counselor, if that's applicable at the secondary level, because they are very well equipped to answer your questions and can provide you with information, the information that you're requesting in a timely manner. One of the questions I just want to address kind of head on or directly, I've gotten a number of questions related to students who are twice accelerated in mathematics. So students who are taking a mathematics course that is 2 years above grade level or 2 grades above their current level. So for example, a 6th grade student who may be taking an 8th grade math class. That obviously is a secondary school specific question. I will say, having spoken to both the principals of Woodbury and the middle school, that is something that they expect to be able to accommodate our students in the fall with. But if you have specific questions related to whether it's a math level, a math question, or anything else, please feel free to reach out directly to your building principal or school counselor. All right, with that, I'm going to go into a couple of questions that's kind of related to the general plan, and then I'll kind of go through these topics as I get to them. So first question is, given the large enrollment differences between elementary schools and the uneven distribution of students across buildings who may need additional support, are we considering moving students from their traditional homeschool building to ensure that there are consistent numbers in classrooms? We've gotten this question in kind of a variety of forms. Currently, we are not planning to move students en masse from one building to another. Of course, if our plans change, I will be sure to let the community know. Like always, I will say that we typically have enrollment caps at each building just to make sure that we can meet student needs and have appropriate class sizes. I would expect that those enrollment caps will continue to be in place. When a cap has been reached, then we talk with the individual family to make other arrangements and transfer students or place students elsewhere in our district. So I would expect that would continue to be the case. Like I said, in the current plans, we're expecting that students will largely remain at their home schools, and if that changes, of course, I'll be sure to let everybody know. The next question is related to our academic calendar. Are we considering modifying the academic calendar for the upcoming school year? I know that some colleges have modified their calendars, as have some other local school districts. We are talking about the possibility of modifying our school calendar. It's something that we're still very much just discussing and haven't made a decision yet. If we modify our school calendar at all, it would likely be to delay the start of school for students just by a few days to ensure that our teachers have enough time and other staff have enough time to prepare for the altered landscape of schooling in the fall, to make sure everybody is ready to welcome students, and also potentially to provide some orientation time for students at different grade levels. Again, that's something we're considering, but have not made a final decision on yet. The next question relates to teachers coordinating between in-person and virtual teachers. In the AB alternating week model, how will remote teachers coordinate with in-person teachers, especially if remote teachers are working with multiple classes from multiple buildings? So a couple things that I want to clarify. At the K-4 level, we expect that, or right now, based on our current planning, it is likely that the virtual teacher and the in-person teacher may not be the same person. So I might have Mr. Smith for my in-person teacher and Ms. Johnson to be my virtual teacher. We do have structures in place already where teachers have common planning time. We expect that will continue in the fall. And so particularly at the K-4 level, teachers will have an opportunity to continue to collaborate and make sure that they are able to share information about how they are teaching and how our students are learning in both in-person and virtual models. From grades 5 through 8, based on our current plans, it looks like the virtual teacher and the in-person teacher may be the same teacher. So obviously they will hopefully know what is going on in both settings. And at the high school level, it will likely be the same teacher, but that may be a little different depending on the specific subject area. Specials, or sometimes those are called encore subjects, is a little different. We're still working on exactly what special subjects will look like at the different grade levels, things like art, PE, and music. I want to go on to the next question, which is related to surveys. Is the district planning to resurvey parents to find out how many families will choose virtual learning once plans are solidified and announced? Also, will we be doing a similar survey for faculty and staff once plans are announced? So a couple of things. We expect that hopefully by this Thursday or on or around Thursday, we will provide families with an opportunity to indicate their interest or to enroll in the Shaker Virtual Academy if they're interested. That's really important information for us, obviously, since it will help us identify exactly what kind of structures we will need to put in place for class size, for class placements, student ratios, those kinds of things moving forward. With teachers and other staff, we also expect in the next few days to have a district-wide communication for staff members to indicate whether or not they are going to be able to return to work, or whether they have medical documentation or medical reasons why they are unable to return to work in person, so that we can accommodate them accordingly. So those communications will be forthcoming and will likely be tied to an announcement of the district plan. All right, the next question is related to virtual academy. When will enrollment in the virtual academy open and close? If enough students enrolled in that option, will the district reconsider a full 5-day every week option for K-4? And the next question is also about the virtual academy. Will students who participate in the online academy still be on track to be able to take any level of classes at the middle and high schools, similar to the in-person students? And I've talked a little bit already about the opening of enrollment for the virtual academy. We hope that that enrollment period will be a defined enrollment period. We'd like families, for example, to indicate, let's say by July 20th, whether or not they are interested in the virtual academy. We recognize that some people may change their minds as the summer goes on, but the more concrete information we can get earlier in the summer, the better for planning purposes. We will make it clear when the kind of open date and end date for enrollment is for the virtual academy. And for the next question, will students in the virtual academy be on track to be able to take any levels of classes in the middle and high school similar to in-person students? Yes, that is the expectation, that the virtual academy will mirror or echo the kind of in-person learning that is taking place, and that students who choose the virtual academy will have all pathways open to them in the future. The next question is about childcare, and I know that we've gotten a number of questions and concerns about childcare. And first of all, I just want to say that we hear you. We recognize that childcare is a major concern for many of our families, particularly with younger students, and that the hybrid model makes childcare challenging for our students. This is a challenge that we know our families are facing. We also know that our teachers and other employees are facing this as well. So I will say that we are working on collaborating with the city and other 8 local agencies and groups to help make sure that we're able to provide at least resources, or to help point people in the right direction when it comes to childcare. That said, we know this is a real challenge that many districts across Ohio and the country are facing. So I recognize that concern. We hear you. We are working on trying to collaborate with other institutions and agencies to help provide some resources for families. So, you know, the questions that we've gotten are kind of in line with that. Do you have any suggestions of how to handle appropriate care for children during the weeks that they will not be in school? Are there any community resources to help parents who have to work and do not have the option to stay home and help homeschool their children? Like I said, we're working on trying to identify resources for families in this situation. We recognize that that is widespread, and we hope to have more information soon. There are, there are hopefully city resources and other local organizations that will be able to assist with this challenging situation for the fall. Next question relates to course offerings. I'm going to try to get through a couple more questions before we run out of time here. Course offerings, regarding the merging of core and honors courses into one honors credit course, will students who have previously taken core classes be forced to complete honors level work if they do not wish to? Could there not be an option for students in these merged classes to choose between core level assessments and honors level assessments? So this question is a little different depending on which grade level we're talking about. I will say that one of the things we've discovered in our planning process is that many of the standards that students were learning at both the core and honors level were the same or very similar. So even though students maybe were in different classes, they were working towards meeting the same standards, and then were receiving different credit at the end of it. So really we want to make sure that all of our students who are meeting the same standards are also earning credit for those standards. And we believe that it's possible for our students to meet the honors or enriched or advanced level standards when possible. Again, that's a little different for 8th grade mathematics, and that's something that if you have questions about, I encourage you to reach out to the middle school administration, and they can help provide more information about that. All right, the next question is related to health and safety protocols. What will happen when a student tests positive or a member of the household tests positive? Would the weeks group and the teacher have to self-isolate for 2 weeks? Would the teacher's other AB week group need to stay home? Does the spouse or the family of the teacher also need to self-isolate? Do we have to notify classes when that occurs? So this is a question that we will be working with state and local agencies to ensure that we are following appropriate legal and health guidance. For example, there are rules around confidentiality in terms of informing people when somebody, in terms of contact tracing, who needs to be informed that somebody they may have come into contact with has come down with a positive case of COVID-19. I will say we are also proactively trying to put in place as many health and safety protocols as possible. This includes having a face covering policy. It includes having hand sanitization available at regular intervals in a school building. It includes ensuring physical distancing is maintained throughout a school day, and ensures that we are doing other things like having pods or students put in pods to make sure that we're limiting the risk of exposure or the risk of spread of COVID-19. So I hope that answers the question, but again, we will be working with Cuyahoga County Board of Health and other agencies to make sure that the people who need to quarantine are quarantining and the people who need to be informed are informed. I'm going to answer one other question and then we're going to have to wrap up for the day. This question is around differentiation. With the removal of course levels at Woodbury in the middle school, can you provide specific examples for how teachers will differentiate curriculum and assignments for students who need more challenging learning experiences? So first of all, we know that we have an excellent core of teachers here. We have an excellent group. We have an excellent staff and faculty. We also know that this is going to be a new model for everyone, and we will be spending time in professional learning, providing supports to look at how will instruction look different now that we're moving towards this model. We also know that one of the things we have a lot of experience with is small group and individualized instruction, targeted interventions and enrichment and supports. And I would expect that that will be implemented fully across our classes so that we can provide differentiated assignments, differentiated instruction or interventions and supports for students who need it, whether they're students who need some additional support or students who need additional enrichment at different grade levels. With that, we are out of time today. I do appreciate, as always, all of the questions. If I didn't get to some of your questions today, I apologize. I will do my best to get there on future updates. And again, just a reminder, the next update will be next Thursday at 3 o'clock, this upcoming Thursday at 3 o'clock, where we hope to be sharing more of our plans more fully for the 2020-2021 school year. In the meantime, you're welcome to submit any questions in advance. And I look forward to seeing everybody soon. Have a great week.